First of all, I feel like I have to apologize standing up here with notes, but despite the fact that I made it through the Laotian jungle on a motorbike without a map or a road or petrol, I still make for a terrible public speaker. But let's start at the beginning. I was born, just like Amadine, in a small town, not in France, but in Franconia. Same, but different, maybe. It was the kind of small where you'd stand on the busiest road in town and some tourists would walk up and say, "Could you please tell me the way to the city center?" And you'd go, how do I get out of here? I grew up with two older brothers, which at the time was a little tough. But it also taught me how to fight for what I wanted and to put up with unfairness and to adjust to situations for developing new skills. My parents, both teachers, having grown up during and after the war, were really keen on giving us options that they never really had, traveling being one of them. If they'd known at the time what they had triggered off, I probably would have spent my childhood holidays in the backyard. But it came differently. I was 5 when I went to a small town in the north of Ireland with my family, and one evening I decided that I wanted to go out and get dinner for everyone. I got some money and instructions, and standing in the store around the corner from our house, I ordered 5 fish and chips, please. That might not sound too adventurous for you, but trust me, being a little German girl with no English whatsoever, it was a challenge and an excitement. So there I stood, bursting with pride that I got it all right, when the lady looks at me and asks, "Salt or vinegar?" And I look at her slightly disoriented, but smiling my brightest smile. 5 fish and chips, please. 5 fish and chips, please. As you can imagine, I got home with dinner all right that night. And more importantly, I brought back an insight that has helped me out along a lot. Language might be an important tool to get along in a foreign culture. And wherever I go these days, I make sure to speak at least a little of the local language. Very much to the amusement of the community, I have to say. I figured that a smile, however, is always your best bet whenever communication fails. An understanding that became one of my best travel and also life companions. It was during those first trips with my family, growing up as a teenager in a rather safe and comforting environment, that I began to develop a desire and later on a passion for traveling and for interacting with foreign cultures. It wasn't traveling in the sense of going on vacation, but as a means to broaden my horizons and to push my own boundaries by willingly opening myself up, by leaving my comfort zone, and I'm sure you have those too, and by facing unusual situations. I was wanting to look for stories and for glimpses of other people's lives that would maybe also help me to piece my own life together and to grow as a person. So after I finished high school, my journeys brought me all across Canada and back to small islands in Asia where I taught the locals how to waltz to strangers in the night. I became a pastry maker in New Zealand, producing 15 black forest cakes at a time, or selling gingerbread houses next to the beach. Working on a farm in Namibia, I was learning how to butcher prey and discovering that an ostrich egg would make for 12 portions of scrambled eggs. In Malawi, I danced with the buffaloes, rode to remote areas on the top of beverage trucks, and was amazed by the hospitality and friendliness even in the smallest hut. About 2 years ago, I decided, for no specific reason, other than curiosity, that I would want to travel to Laos. What was planned as a 4-week holiday became a 4.5 months trip, because once again I was swept away by the beauty of the people and also the appealing simplicity of their lives. That is something we forget, or actually maybe never wonder about while we live our life of abundance, but it's something that really, really moved me. At the time, I was meant to start another master in intercultural communication, and so I thought, why go to university? I can do that intercultural communication right here on the spot. So I stayed, and the extension gave me the chance to go back to the places and mostly the people that had left a lasting impression, to build up relationships and to reflect upon the experiences that I had already made. Together with an old monk from Thailand, I was teaching English in a small Hmong village. And for the first time, I really understood how privileged I had been to learn not only one, but a few foreign languages. And just to give you I can't bring all those stories alive here, but it's actually really, really hilarious to have 30 Laotian, boys and girls, and also ladies and men, because there were children from 3 to 35, sing Old MacDonald Had a Farm. In a rural community, I found a small restaurant run by a single Laotian lady in her 40s. And this is something actually very impressive and very rare to find in Laos, because most women marry when they're at a younger age. I decided that I wanted to stay with her for a couple of weeks, learning how to prepare Laotian meals in exchange for fixing up her restaurant. I slept on the restaurant floor at night just to get up at 5:30 in the morning to buy the most delicious, but also most terrifying food on the morning market. And another aside, squirrel is actually not quite bad if you know how to prepare it. If somebody explains to you that what you're eating is a rat that lives on a tree with a bushy tail, that doesn't sound too delicious, I agree. Sharing that woman's life, even if it's only for just a limited period of time, led to putting my time there into a different perspective, because I realized that for her, it was as much of an adventure than it was for me to be there, to be part of her life. So for me, it was the same thing as for her, really. And I think it's those tiny moments of epiphany that, because I let them, changed my perception and also my understanding of the world. The secret, of course, was that I was willing to let them all in and to let them question and form myself. I believe that my journeys abroad, surely also due to the fact because I could experience and trial, have helped me a lot in my life to become more flexible and to stay curious and demanding, to put things into perspective, but also to be thoughtful and responsible for my actions. When I started my first trip, I believed that the focus still lay on going somewhere new or on leaving something old behind. But with the time, I've come to the understanding that it is hardly ever your destination that matters. What counts is the path that you will take, and the people that you cross, and the experiences that you make. And they might not always be great adventures, at least if you don't consider everyday life the greatest adventure of them all. I guess I've told you about some travels of mine, and I would make for a terrible, terrible travel guide writer. Because if you would ask me, what do I have to see, where do I have to go, I would probably tell you, what I enjoyed most was spending a night with an old woman that I gave a lift on my motorbike, just to find out in the morning that the hours of conversations that we have were completely nonsense. Or I would say, you should lie on a beach with a local child, using your travel guide to show them their own country and see their amazement. Or I would say, get a motorbike, get out into some remote areas, and just have people stare at you because they've never seen a white lady on a bike. In the end, I believe that maybe I would not have needed to travel to the other end of the world to find all those new challenges and to get out of my comfort zones. But for me, it was just the best way to find out how to create my own personal life adventure. And I hope that my story has been a little inspirational for you to find yours. And as this is about me, never forget to smile.